Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi to all my panels and viewers. My name is Muhammad Afiq Behim Muhammad Ismadi, and my supervisor is Dr. Yang Sung Kong. I'm here to present about my Viva, which is co-compost from chicken manure and spent coffee ground as fertilizer for phytoremediation on contaminated soil. This is the content that I will present in video later on. So let's start with the introduction. Large quantity of heavy metal in the soil poses problem to living things. Spent coffee ground is in rise because of food service industry that is increasing currently. And chicken also increase because of high demand from consumer. Both spent coffee ground and chicken manure can be used as fertilizer for the plant. This is the problem statement that I have encountered in my study. Accumulation of heavy metal in the soil eventually affect food quality, soil health, and the environment. Spent coffee ground can be recycled into other products, but it does not being recycled due to presence of tannins, caffeine, polyphenol that are actually toxic to the living things. Also, chicken manure can be pollution when not being handled properly. The objective of this study is to investigate about spent coffee ground and chicken manure as fertilizer as its impact on the hyperaccumulators grown on the contaminated soil. And also to investigate the growth of the hyperaccumulator that growing with and without the spent coffee ground, chicken manure and composite with both of them present. Let's move on to literature review. The component of spent coffee ground such as nitrogen, hydrogen, sulfur, calcium, and also contain minerals such as potassium, phosphorus, and sodium. All of these can be used to become a fertilizer for the plant if the spent coffee ground being composed correctly. The chicken manure is abundant and it also readily biodegradable organic matter with nutrient and also phytogen. Manure that is made from chicken manure and also other species animals such as cow manure and also sawdust can help in plant growth. Compost is the process whereby the mixture of ingredients used to fertilize and improve the soil condition. There are two main types of composting, which is aerobic composting and anaerobic composting. Aerobic composting is the composition of organic matter using microorganisms that requires oxygen. And aerobic composting is decomposting occur whereby the oxygen is absent or a limited supply. What is hyperaccumulator? Hyperaccumulator is the plant that thrives and absorbs contaminant in the soil without having phototoxic effect. Phototoxic effect is harmful towards the plant because it can stunt the plant growth and eventually make the plant die. Hyperaccumulator usually have large biomass than non-hyperaccumulator and store heavy metal and absorb them, or will detoxify during the plant growth process. Phytoremediation is green and effective technique whereby the plant absorb, transfer or transform pollutant from a form to another form, which directly or indirectly reduce the risk towards the ecological environment and human health. Phytoremediation generally separate into several ways, such as phytoextraction, phytostabilization, phytovolatilization, phytofiltration, and phytotransformation. This is the analysis interpretation. Roripa globosa is one of the hyperaccumulator that can absorb heavy metal, especially cadmium, and show some improvement in the soil condition through phytoextraction as its method of phytoremediation. The cadmium that can be absorbed by the species is from 2.5 mg per kilogram to 5.0 mg per kilogram, which is the proof that this is an hyperaccumulator species. Solanumigrum is the hyperaccumulator for zinc cadmium. Solanumigrum L is often known for its medicinal value in traditional herb that is often associated with inflammatory, diuretic, antioxidant, antipyretic, hepatoprotective, and anti-tumorigenic. This species also native in Africa, America, and Australia. Both of this table is from the paper named Fertilizer Amendment for Improving the Phytoextraction of Cadmium by a Hyperaccumulator Roripa globosa Turstall. The table 1 shows that when the chicken is added, especially at 200 g per kilogram, the amount of total organic matter, total nitrogen and total phosphorus, and also total potassium is increasing a lot. The table 2 shows the effect of same fertilizer level on Roripa globosa accumulating cadmium. The cadmium 2.5, cadmium 5, cadmium 10, and cadmium 20 represent the amount of cadmium was added into the soil, which is 2.5 milligram, 5 milligram, 10 milligram, and 20 milligram of cadmium. As we can see, on cadmium 20 milligram, when the manure is added, the amount of cadmium actually decreasing. This is because actually chicken manure have photostabilization effect that make the heavy metal more stabilized in the soil. This table is from the paper named Rhizosphere Characterization of Zinc Hyperaccumulator Sedum alfredi involved in zinc accumulation. The He and NHE in the table represent the hyperaccumulative species and non-hyperaccumulative species of Sedum alfredi respectively. We can see that the biomass and zinc in the shoot and root of hyperaccumulative species of Sedum alfredi is much more higher. This means the hyperaccumulative species of Sedum alfredi is legit hyperaccumulator of zinc. The way of chicken manure inhibit mobilization is might related to the ion exchange and desorption mechanism that happen during the interaction between the soil and the manure, and also the presence of phosphate, which is the phosphate actually can immobilize some of the metal inside the soil. The spent coffee ground that can be composed with the chicken manure could even more decrease the heavy metal absorption because of its the properties of chelating polyphenol compounds that are available inside the spent coffee ground. For the conclusion, the spent coffee ground can be composed together with chicken manure because property of spent coffee ground which can immobilize the heavy metal. The chicken manure also have high nutrient content that can increase the rate of growth of plant that can cover the lack nutrient in the spent coffee ground. For my recommendation, more intensive research is need to be proved the co-compost between spent coffee ground and chicken manure is actually good. That's all from me. Thank you.